This is John Colo at DiscountJuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. In this episode, we'll be sharing with you guys the best lids to vacuum seal and store your food in mason jars. Guys, you don't understand. I've been vacuum sealing jars for, I don't even know, like probably 10 years now. And I've tried all the different lids out there. I see a new one come on Amazon. I'm like, I gotta buy it and test it and see how good it is. You know, this way I'm saving you guys lots of money, so that you guys don't have to go through the School of Hard Knocks and learn all the things about all these vacuum seal lids that I bought, and you could just basically now purchase the best ones without wasting all your money like I continue to do. That being said, why do I do this? Do I do this for you? Well, I mean, partly, but mostly I do it for me because I want to have the best equipment to store my foods in mason jars, whether I'm storing my fresh made juices, my fresh vacuum blended smoothies, my fresh salads and soups, or even my heat prepared foods in mason jars, or just storing extra cut up fruits and vegetables, or dry grains, beans, nuts and seeds in mason jars. I want to know the best lids to do that, okay? So besides the lids, of course, you will need also a vacuum pump. And I'm not going to be testing vacuum pumps in this episode because I've already tested vacuum pumps. In the link down below, I bought 10 different vacuum pumps from Amazon and tested them all, compared them to the Pure MVP vacuum pump, which was the winner of my test. So once again, link down below to that video if you guys want to see me test all the best vacuum pumps to create a vacuum in a mason jar or other vacuum storage vessel, all right? That being said, let's go ahead and deep dive into the lids. So the first decision you'll need to make when storing your foods in mason jars with vacuum lids are, will you get the special valve lids that have an air valve in it, so this allows you to easily vacuum seal your foods with just the vacuum pump you're using and no special adapters. This also allows you to more easily remove the lids. Wow, that was cheap. Easily remove the lids by basically pulling up on the little valve to let the air back in, right? So that's one option, the valve lids, which is what I prefer to use. The other option is, of course, to use the standard flat lids, the ones you may be getting with your mason jars when you buy them. And these are just like the standard metal lids that are painted on the bottom. They may have a BPA coating, or of course I have the best one right here, a 4 times thicker stainless steel lid that you can then vacuum seal on your jar. So the tip is, when you guys are using any kind of flat lid, you will need some kind of adapter. These adapters are a dime a dozen. They're very cheap these days. This is the one that actually comes with the Pure MVP vacuum pump. This is the best lid adapter out there because it actually makes a tight seal, unlike some of them. In addition, this also has a valve to let off the pressure so you can easily remove this when you're done. So let me go ahead and show you guys how this works real quick. Once again, we just got our standard flat lid. We put it on a mason jar, and then we could just go ahead and set it in there. Then we could put our pump in here, and we just pump it up a number of times. And then what's going to happen is you're going to pump until you feel a resistance, and then the resistance is not getting any more harder to pull it up. So there's like no more resistance when I'm pulling. It's a similar resistance. So we know we have achieved the MVP, or maximum vacuum pressure. At that point then, you could go ahead and press this little valve. That lets the air back into the adapter, so you can now easily take this apart. And then now you can see we have a lid that is basically concave and sealed in there. So this will not drop off. When I personally vacuum seal items, I never use the trim ring on it because I want to be able to see and remove it easily should it come loose, which is rare depending on what you're using. The problem with this is now this is stuck down. So if you're a lady with nails, you have to get your nails underneath here and then bend this up, and you may end up breaking nails. So then a lot of companies will send you like a little like bottle cap opener. The thing is, when you use this and you pry it up, the problem is you pry it up, these lids are so cheap, they basically will bend on you, and then you basically gotta throw them out. So, you know, that's why I don't recommend using the standard lids and the adapter. It's just a hassle. That being said, if you do want to store something for a long term and you're not going to get into it that often, like your stash of your herb from last year that you're going to save for a while, then I would recommend using a flat lid. Now, the main issue I have with these flat lids are that the gaskets are not designed for vacuum sealing. This is a standard, ball Kerr mason jar lid. These lids are designed for a one-time use of canning that then puts a nice mild vacuum on your jars. You could have something that is shelf stable, like your tomatoes or applesauce or whatever you're canning up, right? The issue is they say never reuse these lids when you're canning, because the issue is this gasket. This red material is the cheapest gasket material that money can buy. It'll basically condense once, and what happens is it compresses down. Once you compress it down once, then the gasket is getting worn out and it doesn't have the pliability or flexibility to kind of bounce back. And especially when you're pulling a strong 80 to 85% oxygen out of the jar, that's really putting a lot of pressure on the gasket. And over time, maybe after 3 or 4 or up to 6 different times you vacuum seal the lids with the red gasket, the gasket is now deformed and bad. If you guys work on car engines, you guys know if you guys take apart your engine, take off the head on your engine, right? You don't want to reuse the gasket on the engine head. You want to buy a brand new one so it makes a good seal. That's the exact problem you guys are going to have with these gaskets. After a few uses, you put it on there, you expected it to hold the vacuum, and the next day you come back, it lost the vacuum because these lids are basically garbage. So if you guys want to use the flat lids and do the vacuum sealing, the only lids I can recommend that I found that actually can continue to work over a long period of time are the pure vacuum lids. These are 100% stainless steel. They are laser etched on the back side. They are 4 times thicker, so when you guys vacuum seal and then you pull this off with a little bottle cap opener, this will not bend, right? And in addition, besides being 4 times thicker stainless steel, right, the other thing, it has a proper gasket. This green gasket you guys are seeing on here is a silicone gasket. It basically food safe, right? It'll give and flex basically indefinitely and not wear out and compress like those cheap red gaskets on regular standard mason jar lids. So if you want to keep buying those standard mason jar lids, use them 2, 3, 4 times, then they start leaking on you, then throw them away and buy new ones. Or do you want to invest in the right tool for the right job? That's something my grandfather taught me when I was a youngster, and I still remember that to this day. Thank you, Henry L. Kohler. So these are the best lids if you guys want to get lids for long-term storage, something that you're not going to get into, because if you have to store your juice like this, then you have to open it up and get it off, and then you can drink your juice, and then it just gets to be a pain. I mean, if you're going to open this up maybe like once a month, or using a large jar and storing your flax seeds that you don't get in there because it's your overstock, these flat lids are great because you're not going to really get in there that much, and also because there's no valve in here, it's less likely to leak. That being said, some of the lids over here with the valves, basically they have not leaked on me due to no fault of my own. All right, so yeah, that's the flat lids, and this is an option for you guys. And once again, I only recommend this for long-term storage of your foods. Otherwise, I rarely use those. Okay. All right, next up, we're gonna go ahead and jump down to the lids with the valves, and we have 2 sections of the lids with the valves. We have the plastic lids over on this side. You can see a close-up on, and then we have the metal lids over on this side. And the main difference is the materials that they're made out of, right? Plastic versus metal or stainless steel is one criteria that you may want to consider. For me personally, I mean, in general, I always prefer that my food contacts stainless steel instead of other kind of metals than the plastic. But of course, for like certain instances, I may use the plastics because there are some advantages to some of these lids. That being said, a lot of them are garbage. I'll tell you guys that straight up. So actually, let's start with these plastic lids. And I'll start with the first style lid that I actually originally got to do vacuum sealing in the jars. And that's where these lids that are normally sold for vacuum fermentation. This has basically a vacuum valve that you can use for fermentation. And actually, as a matter of fact, any of these lids can be used for vacuum fermentation because they all have valves. But also, you can use these for storage as well. right? And the issue I have with this is that this includes the thread. So you go down with the threads, you lock it, and then you can basically pull a vacuum on it. And if you're doing vacuum fermentation, right, that could be, good, because now you're excluding the oxygen when you're fermenting, so you won't get the excess mold growth and the bacteria that's not so good. But the issue I saw with these lids is that because these are threaded and have actually a silicone gasket, which is good, sometimes the way this is threaded is that I'd seal this on there and I'd pull a vacuum and it wouldn't be fully vacuumed due to the threads and just how cheaply these guys are made. So I really don't recommend these. I mean, if you're doing a fermentation, maybe it's not as critical, but for food storage, you definitely don't want it to lose a vacuum. These ones I found leak. And then if you do want it to seal, you have to like crank this down super tight, and then you need like a wrench to actually get it off. So like I would highly recommend you guys not buy these standard like fermentation lids for vacuum saving or sealing your juices, smoothies, nuts, seeds, herbs, and other things, right? Okay, so that's this guy. And then the next one up are the Solget lids. These are the second kind of lids that I found on Amazon. These are no longer available. Actually, these worked actually quite well. These were my favorite lids for a long time until I got other options available. I don't think they make this design anymore, but it's a pretty good design for the most part. It has like a nice rubber kind of gasket on there, and then a one-way valve that works really good, and it just seals on the jars. So yeah, I really don't have any problems with this. These ones actually held vacuum and worked really well, but unfortunately they are no longer available. All right, next up, these lids, I think they're from Europe, maybe from southeast, like Eastern Europe actually, and they'll fit on a mason jar. The issue I have with these is that the gasket, it's white, and it's not like super flexible like silicone. Like this is some kind of other gasket material, I'm not sure what it is. And then it has like a one-way valve. And actually when I use these, they look kind of fancy, and I like that it's a dome top. But the issue I've had with these is that they always leak. After a day or two, the vacuum unseals and basically it's garbage. These are very cheap, but once again, you guys get what you pay for, okay? Next plastic lid I got is a newer type that came out, and you might think this one looks pretty cool. It has a nice oversized valve, and then this gasket's interesting because it actually seats to the top of the jar. In addition, it seats on the inside of the jar. So it like seats in two mating areas. So even when you put it on, it's really not coming out because it kind of sits in there. The issue is when we pull a vacuum on it, which then this vacuum pump will not easily work on this lid. You need a special vacuum pump to work on this specific lid. The issue with these is that I found they actually leak on me. So even though they have an impressive gasket, they ended up for some reason not holding a seal. Plus, of course, they are plastic, and I didn't like it too much, all right? Let's see, the next lid that I've been using for a long time, this is probably came in after the Solget lids, are these lids. These lids actually are some of my favorite lids, actually. I don't know the brand name, but I will put my links to my favorite lids down below to my Amazon shop where you guys could buy all these lids. In addition, I think for the pure lids or the pure vacuum pump, I'll put a link down below, bit.ly/puremvp. To get those lids and the pump itself. So anyways, these lids, and a lot of these lids, guys, you can't just buy the lids alone. You got to buy the lids with a pump. So if you want like, 10 of these lids, you got to buy 3 kits that have 3 lids or whatever and 1 pump. Then you have all these extra garbage pumps, which I have done also in the past. But these lids I like because number 1, they use a silicone gasket. Number 2, it fits right on the mason jar. Number 3, this one sits a bit taller. So basically, if you fill it higher, this one's kind of like bowed out. So, the valve doesn't extend too far down into the jar. So yeah, this is actually one of my favorite plastic lids here. I don't know the brand name or whatever. Once again, links are down below. I'll call this the clear plastic old time lid from, I think it's from like Japan or something. I don't know. But yeah, these are good lids right here. And then the next lids I got experimented with are these guys, and they come in 2 different sizes. So these lids, they look kind of funny. They're basically plastic on the top. They have like a silicone gasket. But then on the bottom, this is what makes these special, is that these are basically more like universal lids. So while these aren't made specifically for mason jars, the smaller of them will fit pretty much on a mason jar with a little bit of overhang on it, right? And then of course you can vacuum seal your mason jars, with these lids, and also to the pure pump. It will barely fit this valve because the valve's a little bit almost a little bit too large for the pure pump, but it does work, as you guys can see. But I do like these because basically the whole bottom is a silicone gasket. So most of the contact is silicone gasket. In the middle, there's a little area with the plastic that may contact your food. But the reason why I like these is because these are universal lids, guys. So check it out. We have like a little small jar right here, right? None of these mason jar lids will fit a small jar. But if you get this universal lid, right, with the gasket, you know, that's this wide, and you just center it up, it'll go on this jar, and then you can actually pull a vacuum on it and then seal it, and now you can seal basically any jar with these lids. So that is really the power of these lids. You know, they haven't really leaked on me. Actually, they did leak on me once. Like, I stored some peanut butter that I made, and it did lose vacuum over time. But maybe for short-term storage, these are great. I mean, the other thing that's really cool is that this oversized lid, I mean, here's a nice, cool, like, you know, glass that I drink out of, right? This lid will even fit on this big, large glass, and then now I could basically pull a vacuum on this big, large glass. So imagine you could vacuum save in a lot of different items because of this universal lid here. So once again, like I said, right, I wish they sold these lids separately. At present time, these lids only come when you buy like a vacuum kit with a pump and all this stuff. But lately I got these kits, which I think include maybe like 5 lids or something, for as low as under $10. So that's like an amazing deal. I think everybody should have these universal lids for when you don't have a mason jar, when you just got something that you can't finish and you want to store your juice in a funky size, you know, glass, or even you just have some jars that you stored that you got from, you know, jarred goods that you bought. You know, these lids make a major difference. And yeah, I really like these a lot, all right? So the final lid I'm gonna share with you guys are these lids. So this is like the newest design that came out, basically. I mean, this lid's kind of cool. It's all plastic, right? And then it has a silicone gasket. And on these guys, I mean, some of these had silicone gaskets and some did not. So the ones that had silicone gaskets are these 3, which are my favorite because silicone gaskets I find perform the best. Other gaskets may end up leaking on you. I think this one also had silicone, but it did leak on me. All right, but nonetheless, this also has a clear silicone gasket. But then the issue I have with this one is, you see how this one is like kind of domed and goes up? This valve actually goes down into your juice. So that means, you know, you can't fill it as high because now you're going to suck liquid through this valve. I do like on this one, and when you do suck it out, and this will work with the pure MVP pump, you could pump it up, and then you'll see on the little valve, it'll be kind of indented. So this kind of is your indicator that you actually have pulled the vacuum and the vacuum is still sealing generally. And then this one is so wide that you actually can't use a trim ring on it. Actually, that's another downside of this one. It protrudes over the lid or over the edge of the glass, so you can't use a trim ring. But yeah, I like these because they're clear. The gasket is silicone, and you have an indentation, and then you can basically pop this up and then pull it out. And this is actually the Sealvax brand. So yeah, so so those are all the plastic lids. If I had to rate them, let's see, what am I gonna say? I mean, personally, this is my favorite. I've owned these for a long time, and I like this plastic style lid just because it's a little bit dome shaped, and once again, they've never failed me, right? That's number 1. Probably my number 2 is just these standard universal lids is my second favorite plastic vacuum sealing lid. The reason is because they are ultimately adaptable to not only mason jars, but other size jars, glasses as well, right? And then my third favorite plastic lid is the Sealvax lid. And I don't like that it protrudes over the edge of the jar. You can't use a trim ring on it. I do like the vacuum indicator because it kind of sucks down. I don't like the valve, just seems kind of a little bit, you know, not super good to me. I don't know, it seems a little bit shoddy. Like, I don't think it doesn't feel like it's silicone, so it's some other kind of rubberish material that may wear out over time. It protrudes down into the glass. I do like the silicone gasket on there, however, and it does look nice and clean, being basically plastic. So yeah, those are the plastic lids. All right, guys, so next up, let's go with the metal valve lids. All right, first lid that I got, actually, or one of the first, was these BlendTech lids with the thread. So it's just a one-piece unit. And how they did this, basically they took like a straw hole and they put this basically a one-way valve And actually, they kind of figured out this was actually from a vacuum blender that they just used these on top of, right? It had a silicone gasket, which was good, but then once again, I don't like screwing things in. And then the other thing is, I did find that over time these leak. So yeah, maybe you could do a DIY solution. But yeah, this definitely was good at the time because there was nothing else available. But I did find they leaked, and yeah, a little bit hokey there because it's kind of a homegrown solution. All right. Next lid I came across was probably this guy right here. This is the original lid. I think they're called Thrifty Back lids. And these are the first lids that actually were pretty solid, and I used these for a long period of time. The issue with these lids are that they are aluminum, and you can see if you pull a strong vacuum, like with a vacuum pump, the Pure MVP, these bend over time. So then I've had to throw them out because they bend over time. The good news is that the gasket on here is a white gasket, which basically seems to be reused indefinitely without leaking. It also has basically a two-piece plastic valve with like a black O-ring on here. And the main issue with these is that this is a major food harborage area, right? In this little two-piece valve thing, you know, food particles, juice, and all these things would kind of get in there, and then you can't really get in there and clean them unless you maybe like soak it in some OxyClean or something, which actually I never did. So yeah, these bend. So yeah, don't really recommend these nowadays because there's definitely better solutions. The next lids I got after that were these basically stainless steel lids, which are a lot thicker, so I didn't have any problems with them bending. They're not quite as thick as the pure lids, which are even thicker. But the issue I have with these lids, once again, is they use a two-piece valve system. That's plastic that basically crud will get stuck into. In addition, instead of using the black O-ring, that's a lot lighter, they use a more flat, basically silicone gasket on here, which I found did not work as well. The major problem with these, if you guys look close in the bottom, you guys could see there's like a little bit of, yellowish sheen to it. If I flip it over, you guys could see that's like stainless steel on there, but if on this side it's yellowish, and that's because they put a coating on the stainless steel that at first I wasn't aware of. Then when I'd be storing stuff in here, I'd see this coating peel, and I'm like, where's that coating going? And it basically peeled off into my juices and some of my foods until I figured out, like, there's a coating on there that I basically take one of those, like, 3M green scrubber pads and scrub off all the stupid coating. So, yeah, these days I definitely don't recommend these. They do work, and they hold the seal fairly well, although after time I did find they did end up leaking on me. But, I used these style lids for a long time, and they worked for quite a long time, actually. And then actually, after I found these lids that were stainless steel with the coating, then I found these lids. And what's the difference? The difference is, instead of being a plastic valve, it now has a stainless steel valve. So I was really excited when I found a stainless steel valve. It also has kind of like a flat gasket in there. It also uses the good yellow or the white material for the gasket that is reusable. And I was like, man, these are going to be the best ones. But the problem with these I found is that they ended up leaking. Every single one ended up leaking. You would think, oh man, it's stainless steel, it's better. But for some reason, the gasket material on here or around the seal, or maybe this valve got too heavy. Actually, it did take a stronger vacuum to pull the air out. If you had a weak vacuum, it wouldn't really suck the air out. Because when you're vacuuming, it has to pull the air up against the valve. So yeah, these ones end up leaking. Oh, they look impressive. I definitely don't recommend them. Okay. Then after that, then the Pure MVP vacuum lids came out, and actually these are upon my request. Actually, the Pure MVP vacuum lids and the vacuum pump was because a good friend, David Feinberg at the Pure Juicer Company, that basically made the Pure Juicer and improved it as the best two-stage hydraulic style juicer, right, that's out there. Basically I told him, David, we need to make a vacuum pump and some really good lids, because the lids I have, they all end up bending or leaking or whatever, and all the vacuum pumps I have, they always end up breaking, right? So then he invented these lids with his engineering department, made them 4 times thicker stainless steel. They barely protrude into the mason jar. Of course, they also are stainless steel. They're laser etched on the bottom, so there's no printing on the bottom. They also have a nice silicone gasket that is indefinitely reusable, and a nice silicone valve that's nice and light and properly designed. So when I put this on a mason jar, and then basically I pull a vacuum on it. Also, these have the perfect indentation to easily line up with your MVP vacuum pump. You can see we also have an indentation, so that's like your telltale sign that if this indicator is kind of like, you know, has an indentation, you know there's vacuum on it. So I could easily look in my fridge, because I have just a shelf full of like 30 of these jars lined up, you know, like I think it's like 4 in each row. I could look and see, okay, these still have vacuum on it, you know. Some of these lids, they give you no indication if you've lost the vacuum or not. I'd have to go back and then feel in the fridge. I have to go back and feel to the back row and then feel it if it comes up or if it's still sealed down, right? So I really like the indication on these jars, and that's the indicator that it's sealed. You can see it's not coming off, and then if I pull this up, the air sucks back in, and now you can see there's no indentation on there. If I dump it over, the lid will just basically drop off. So that I really love. So yeah, this is a solid lid, and this is my favorite lid, I'll tell you guys straight up. And then after the pure lid came out, then other brands started making lids. So then I found these lids on Amazon. They basically use the standard mason jar lids, right? Super cheap tin with a coated, painted bottom, right? And then they probably just popped a hole in it and then put a gasket in there. These have the red gaskets on the bottom, right? What did I say about the red gaskets? These gaskets basically stop functioning and stop sealing after 3 to 6 uses in my testing with a strong vacuum pump. So although these have a valve and they do have the indentation thing, when there's a seal on it, I don't recommend these. I gave these to a friend to test along with myself, and he says, John, every one I use, they leak, right? So yeah. Again, you guys get what you pay for. These are cheap lids and they leak, all right? Next up, another company came out with these that actually come with a vacuum pump. A lot of these lids come with vacuum pumps. Once again, I look at the bottom, the same issue. This has the white painted bottom, may contain BPA, also has a coating on it that can get in your juice if you scratch it. Also has the stupid red gasket. In addition, like this one, if you just touch it the wrong way, the one-way valve just basically totally comes out. So yeah, it's like these cheap ones. You always want to look if you're buying them, man. If they have like a red gasket, run. And then after that, the last newest kind of lid I found were these ones. These are stainless steel lids, and they're pretty thick. Maybe not quite as thick as the pure, but they have no coating on them. It uses the oversized valve. This is from Sealvax. This is Sealvax's stainless steel lid. This is their plastic lid. Actually, I think pretty much they use a similar style valve actually on both of them, except this is plastic, this is stainless steel. The main difference with this is that the valves are the same. The issue is the gaskets are not. The gaskets on these stainless steel lids basically are removable, which I mean, I guess is a pro and a con. You could kind of get in there and clean. With the pure MVP lids, these are basically stamped in place, so they're basically non-removable. That's a good thing because you won't get anything underneath the gasket that you'll ever need to get under there, because it's just totally pressed in, sealed in place in the manufacturing process. Meanwhile, this one comes off. That means, if it comes off, that means you can get dirt, debris, and whatnot trapped underneath this gasket. In addition, you have to basically make sure this gasket is put on properly. It actually has to come up over the lip and seal on, which, you know, to me, I find a pain in the you-know-what. If it's like off a little bit, your jar will not seal. So, you know, some people may want to get underneath there and clean, and then this would be good for you. But if you don't want the hassle, because stuff could get underneath there, and then you will have to clean it, whereas this, I just rinse off and I'm done, right? That's what's up with these lids. So we put this on there, seals pretty good, and then we could just, once again, pull a vacuum on this. Oh, it does make a funky sound when you're pulling a vacuum on it. And then you can see we have a, you know, slight indentation, although I am seeing some deformation in the gasket, because the seal is silicone, the gasket is some other kind of rubberish material, not true silicone. So I'm kind of concerned about that degrading over time. But once again, you know, this one also has the divot in there, so you guys can see that it's sealed. And then you could let the air back in and then pull it off, all right? So if I had to rate my favorite metal lids, basically, my top favorite lid straight up is the pure MVP vacuum pump lids by far. 4x stainless steel gasket that is non-removable. You're not going to get crud underneath there. It's not going to give you extra harbage or cleaning spots. It also has a 100% stainless steel valve, right? These are the premium lids that you can buy and use forever. I've never had one of these lids leak after I've sealed my jar up due to no fault of my own. If you don't clean underneath here, or as you're vacuuming up something, if you basically pull up juice through the lid and then it's kind of sitting on here, then you probably got some juice on the gasket. Then I've had them, fail, like lose seal over time. But if I have it totally clean, I don't pull up juice through the lid, then it totally stays sealed. Another reason why I had these unsealed was interesting is that basically I put some lemon bell pepper juice in the jar, I put a heavy vacuum on it, let me like 82% oxygen removed, and then like in 2 weeks basically the vacuum came off. And then I'm like, whoa, the vacuum came off, what's going on? And then I basically put a vacuum on it again to vacuum it on, and then when I looked at the juice, there was bubbles coming up. And then I tried some of the juice, and basically I found that the juice had carbonated inside the jar. And because the CO2 is being released by the lactobacillus bacteria in there, it was carbonating it, and then the vacuum was lost because of the air pressure inside was increased, right? So that was kind of cool. But yeah, these guys have never leaked on me. These are by far my favorite lids. And if you guys want to get the best lids, you guys can use a link down below, bit.ly/puremvp, and use a coupon code DJ5 for $5 off when you purchase over $100 and get free shipping. Then my second favorite metal lid, and the only other one that actually I could recommend at this time, was the Sealvax lids. These are available on Amazon. Once again, link down below to my Amazon shop. And if you guys want to get these Sealvax lids, to me, it's just, spend the money and do it right. These have been much more solid and dependable, durable. They're better quality stainless steel, thicker, with better valves that are less likely to leak, because, I'm not really 100% confident in these valves, although this is a lower price option, and this is the lowest price option on Amazon if you do want to buy something on Amazon. Right? So yeah, so at the end of this episode, basically my favorite lids are the pure stainless steel valve lid, the pure flat lid for long-term storage, and then this lid right here is my favorite lid for mason jars. All right, once again, links down below to all these. All right, last up, I want to test another pump for you guys real quick before we sign off today, because you already learned about the best lids, but now let's verify that the Pure MVP vacuum pump is the best vacuum pump to pull oxygen out of mason jars or whatever else you're storing. I'm getting a lot of requests since my last Amazon video. John, have you tested the FoodSaver? The FoodSaver vacuum pump, and this is like their mini cordless vacuum pump, which unlike all the other vacuum pumps I tested, requires a special holster and to charge instead of like a USB-C, which is to me like a, not a good thing, right? People say, oh, the FoodSaver, they've been vacuum sealing for a long time and they're a good company. And honestly, when I tested a full-size FoodSaver that you could feed food safe in jars, or you could put like the hose in, it didn't get that strong a vacuum. It probably pulled about 60% of the oxygen out. So in any ways, let's test to see how much this FoodSaver vacuum pump pulls out. So we have a pressure tester differential meter here. So we're going to go ahead and turn it on and press the differential button to see the difference. We're going to go ahead and put that in our mason jar. We're going to take the Pure MVP vacuum lid, and then we're just going to go ahead and put the FoodSaver vacuum pump on here and press the button. Oh wow, and you got to actually hold it down to keep it going. It just doesn't stay activated. All right, so as you guys can see, I don't know if you guys can't see it on the video, but the meter is showing the amount of oxygen, and we're currently up at 33. So we're just going to go ahead and hold this down and let it basically max out. I expect it to max out around high 50s, low 60s. Let's see what it gets. All right, guys, so we've gotten the maximum. I don't know if you guys can see that on there, but basically it was at like 40. It's kind of going down to like 39.9, but basically it was like 40, 41. So this is like the weakest pump out there, guys. Don't trust the FoodSaver brand if you want a vacuum seal with a strong, powerful pump. It's not going to do it for you. Let's go ahead and reset the rig, and next up, let's go ahead and test the Pure MVP. All right, guys, let's test the Pure MVP, and basically the more you pump, the more oxygen you will get removed. You know, maybe the first 10, 20 pumps, you're going to get to a pretty good oxygen level. And then if you do another 20 more pumps, you're going to get like that much more. So most of you guys may not want to pump more than 10 or 20 times. If you really want to max it out, this pump is made for because it's made out of industrial aluminum, like the same kind they use in aircrafts, as well as has Viton seals, one-way check valve, and basically it's a lifetime pump. All right, so let's get pumping. First up, we're going to pump like 10 times. All right, after 10 pumps, what did we achieve? Wow, in 10 pumps, no time at all, we're at 51.9% oxygen removal. You know, this guy took a long time to run and only achieved 40, 41, 39. All right, let's do another 10 pumps. All right, now we have done another 20 pumps, and it was really easy to pump the pure MVP. Now we're up to a total of 70% oxygen removal. Right here, guys, you could stop, and right here, this blows away every pump, every electric pump I've tested on Amazon to date, right? So now, what we're going to do, and this is where most people might want to stop, 70% oxygen removal. To me, 70% is not enough because I know this pump could take it even further. So let's go another 20 pumps now. All right, so now we're down to a total of 40 pumps. And now we got 79.8. All right, let's get me up to 80, guys, because that's where I know where we're going to go. All right, guys, after more pumps, you guys can see, wow, we're up to 83.7 is what it looks like to me. Impressive, 83% oxygen removal. So here's the thing, man. If you guys just want to, you know, get pretty good vacuum, pump it 20 times. And we're doing full strokes, guys. None of this half stroke stuff. You want to pull it all the way to the max, all the way up to the max, and then push it down and then back up, right? So I'd say 20 gets you to 70. Another 20 will get you about to 80. I mean, in general. And then if you're super hardcore, you could do another 20 and maybe get you up another 4 points, 83, 84. And maybe depending on where you live, your altitude and whatnot, you could get up to 85. I mean, that's what Pure advertises it as, 80 to 85% oxygen removal with the Pure MVP vacuum pump. So now, after this episode, you guys saw the best lids are, of course, the Pure MVP vacuum lids, whether the valve or the flat, and the Pure MVP vacuum pump to remove the most oxygen so that your food doesn't oxidize, it doesn't get spoiled, it doesn't go rancid, your fats, right? It stores and preserves your antioxidants because they're not oxidizing because of the air, right? This pump is so powerful, it'll even remove oxygen that is dissolved into your juices. I'll put a link down below to that video if you guys want to learn more about why this pump will store your juices longer than any other vacuum pump method out there that I've tested to date. So at the end of this episode, guys, I hope all my hard-earned money spent on Amazon has done you a favor, and I've shared with you guys the best and worst lids you can use to vacuum seal your food. Once again, recommend the flat lids only for long-term storage. Otherwise, you're going to keep taking it off and putting it on. It's a hassle to use that adapter and whatnot every single time. I prefer the vacuum lids and just get one like the Pure MVP vacuum lid that does not leak on you. And of course, if you don't want to spend the money on getting something right the first time that's basically going to last forever, you could experiment with some of these other cheaper lids. You know, some of these I've time proven to myself, like this one specifically, you know, and these guys are pretty good, but maybe they leak a little bit. Or, you know, these stainless steel lids, if you did want to get a stainless steel lid. But once again, guys, I've learned from my grandfather the right tool for the right job. And for me, at this point in time, I've tested nothing better than the Pure MVP vacuum pump and the Pure MVP vacuum lids. If you guys want to get the best deal on the Pure MVP vacuum pump and lids, make sure you guys use the link down below, bit.ly/PureMVP. My coupon code DJ5, save you guys $5 off your purchase of $100 or more, and you'll get free shipping. If you guys want to get any of these other lids that I talked about in this episode, or anyways, the best ones, I only post the best ones in my Amazon shop. That's at Amazon.com/shop/John Kohler. And when you guys use any of those links or coupon codes, you know, the companies will share with me a small commission so I can continue to spend my money to buy these lids, to test them for you guys and test them for myself, so you guys will know the best ones, so that you guys don't have to waste all your money on cheap garbage from China that literally doesn't work. So I want to thank you guys who will use my coupon codes and support me, because it allows me to continue to pay my light bill, take my time out of my day to film these videos and share what I've learned with you guys. More importantly, you know, pay my amazing video editor that does such good work. So I want to thank you guys who will use the links or coupon codes down below to, you know, keep me around doing what I love to do. So if you guys enjoyed this episode learning about the best lids for vacuum sealing and best pump at that, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. Also, share this with other people that want to batch juice, make juice in large quantities, do batch food prep. Maybe they're a homesteader and they, you know, do a lot of food storage, right? Maybe they like to buy grains or nuts or seeds in bulk and then store them. I mean, the best way is without the oxygen, so you want to definitely share this video with them so that they can find the best lids and the best vacuum pump to preserve your food longer, to prevent food waste, preserve more nutrition, and save more money over time when you guys buy in bulk. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss my new upcoming episodes. I'll be coming every 5 to 7 days. You never know where I'll show up, when new products I'll be unboxing, I'll be testing or comparing, so that you guys could buy the best equipment out there to process your fruits and vegetables and even store them in the best ways possible to maintain the most nutritional value, so you guys get the most health benefit. Make sure you click the little bell so you're notified as my videos come out. And finally, be sure to check past episodes. The past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. Over 700 episodes at this time on this channel dedicated to you guys all about the best equipment to process your fruits and vegetables in the best ways possible. And if you guys stay to the end of this on vacuum storing your food, you also want to look up my videos on vacuum blending, because that is next level blending. Links down below, some of my favorite videos on that as well. So with that, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for YouTube visitors.